Hello, Safam. How are you doing? I'm hoping that you are doing super great. From wherever you're watching us from, I'm your host and presenter, Jadok Stories, hoping and believing that you are doing great. Now, there is a video that I want us to discuss about. First of all, I'm hoping that you're fine. Whether it's in the morning, evening, afternoon, daytime, whether you're working, sleeping, watching movie, you're in the farm, taking care of animals with the kids, doing anything, man, I'm hoping that you're doing great. Now, for the past few, I'll say years, there has been an increasing fear towards people who are living in the United States. And the United States society has a tender of making the life so hard for its citizens. It's called American sadism. The fact that the life is always so hard for majority, the bottom 99% of the United States, and not for the top 1% of the United States, the fear keeps on increasing, and people don't know whether they'll wake up tomorrow safely. There's so many chaos going on here and there. Now, I don't want to say much, but I want you to hear from the perspective of this gentleman, this white person that describes how he feels fear. And he says that he has never felt frightened like this before. Sometimes when I bring professors that talks about the fall of the United States, some people usually say that I'm trying to fearmonger people with those people that are inviting my podcast so that they can discuss all these matters. But you get to realize that the same things that they are saying, when you go to ask any United States citizen, they're going to be agreeing. Because of recently, there has been mass deportations. People don't know whether you wake up in the morning, get yourself in the same house. You don't know whether you'll be deported. Even people who are born and raised in the United States are not sure if they're really going to be making it there without being deported. And so many things that are attached to what's really happening today. I want us to listen to the perspective of this gentleman, right? And tell me what you think in the comment section.
I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and he, I've been trying to kind of boil things down a little bit just for me, and like, how am I actually feeling right now in this country with everything that's going on? And it's like it's super easy. It's super easy to make content just calling people out as being idiots, and calling Trump out for being an idiot, and calling Kristi Noem out for being an idiot, and calling Cash Patel and Dan Bongino, and Pete Hegseth out for being idiots. And, this whole administration is it's stacked with idiots, and like 95% of them are white men who aren't qualified for the positions that they have, but yet they're calling it a meritocracy. And but they are doing Elon. I mean, they're doing incredibly dangerous and incredibly harmful things that are hurting people. And it's like the attacks on the LGBTQ community, and completely ridding the executive branch and all federal agencies of DEI and all references to black and brown people and women, and kidnapping people, and with no due process sending them to the worst prison in the Western Hemisphere, where they could end up rotting for the rest of their lives, having never committed a crime. They're doing incredibly harmful things, as dumb and stupid and incompetent as they are. And it's like we see these things every day. And I mean, for me, it's like when it comes to like making content on this app, it's becoming it's just becoming so repetitive. because it's the same thing every day. It's the same thing every day. The specifics might be a little bit different, but it's the same thing every day. And it's wearing on me. And, it's like I've been talking about that a lot with some of my friends, and today was just I kind of had this realization on the plane when I was coming back from Vegas. Um, and again, I'll preface this by saying, you know, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, pretty much in rural Ohio, in an incredibly uh, segregated circumstances. I didn't have real opportunities to meet people who didn't look like me, and form friendships with people who didn't look like me until I was in college. Uh, and you know, I have all kinds of privileges in this country, and have had for my entire life. Uh, and but for me, coming from that place, um, the last several months, and specifically the last 3 months, are the first time in my life that I can remember, not necessarily being able to just believe that everything's going to be okay. Eventually, everything's going to be okay. It's not just some 4-year long cycle of a president who, I don't like his taxation policy or something. These people, they're hurting people, and they're killing people. People who can't fight back for themselves. And and again, it's like, part of my brain is like, are you unfamiliar with the last 400 years? But I'll fully and completely acknowledge that it's the first time in my life that it feels like that this is stuff that's finally actually going to impact me negatively. And there's so much to unpack there, um, y- you know, and I was thinking again, sitting on a plane thinking, I was absolutely not raised to be racist in any way, shape, or form, but that doesn't mean that I was raised to be anti-racist. Uh, you know, and I know I've got blind spots when it comes to racism, misogyny, and things like that. Even if there's no like intent, there's stuff that just doesn't dawn on me because of my life experiences. And again, it's like that's one of the reasons why I treasure TikTok, because I can learn so much about the lives and life experiences of people in the United States who don't look like me, and learn from them. Uh, and as I say to my followers quite frequently, I can do all of those things without diving into their comments and acting like a white person. You can listen and you can learn and you can expand your understanding. Uh, but this is the first time in my life that I've ever felt, well, let me phrase it this way. This is the first time in my life that I haven't felt like eventually everything's going to be okay. Eventually it's going to work out because we'll elect another president or whatever. It's the first time I think that I have felt like legitimate fear for this country, and we're not even 4 months in. I you know It'll be 4 months this week, 4 months tomorrow, I think. 4 months. This country is exist. This country, taking into consideration its obvious flaws and what it was constructed upon, but it has existed for 249 years. And Donald Trump has been able to pretty effectively dismantle a huge portion of it in 4 months. That's not even a full NFL season. 4 months. And driven largely by racism, misogyny, bigotry, homophobia, and transphobia. That's the driving force between so many of his policies. And then you just add the oligarchic kleptocracy on top of it and self enrichment. He does all that racist, cultural, transphobic bullshit just to make his base happy. The only thing he cares about is making money. And I don't know that we're going to be okay. I don't know that we're going to make it through this. And that frightens me.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host again and presenter Jindok Stories. You've heard this perspective in regards to this, and it's indeed what he's saying is true. But at the end of the day, a lot of people will ask this question: why, after all, did you make all these decisions? Majority of white folks, and I'm not just saying specifically from this person, but people who look like him, made the wrong decision. Why? Because of racism. When they voted for racism, they didn't know all these things gonna be happening in front of them. What is happening in the United States today is history. This is how the United States will go down. And this is so much inevitable. You could see there is fear everywhere. Everyone is fearing. Everyone is like, they're not sure whether tomorrow they'll be in the same country or not. Like, people are even not sure about the work that they're going to do, whether they'll be receiving the money. Like, it's crazy. And the disillusionment in the United States is really out of hand. Now, this is whether you voted for Kamala Harris, whether you voted for Donald Trump, whether you're Democratic, whether you're Republican, it doesn't care. It only matters when you are in the top 1%. While you're in the bottom 99%, just know that anything can happen to you. And so, since you've heard the perspective of this person, I want us to go ahead and listen to what people said. People said about all this, because you'll agree with me, people have been struggling with these things. And then the biggest question is, today I'm seeing a lot of white folks, true, and their reasons are valid based on everything that they are going through. But do you understand the magnitude of a black person going through this for 400 damn years without any help, without nobody to turn to, without anybody to support them? That's how crazy it gets for black people. And this has never been the same for black people. Also, another observation that I heard from this gentleman, he said that he's been enjoying the white privilege, something, and this I applaud him for. This is something that most of white folks won't come out and agree with you. They won't. They'll always try to deflect from this. But at the end of the day, we have few white folks that come out and talk about the truth. And this is this is how it's supposed to be. Talking about the truth sets you free, right? Like just this gentleman. Now, people had some things to say that I also want to share with you about this. As you say, have you been paying attention for the last 400 years? Not long ago, we in Australia had the chance to address our colonial past by passing a referendum to correct our constitution and have a permanent body of Aboriginal people to advise the government of the day on the indigenous matter. To my complete astonishment, disbelief, and sadness, I watched fall. It fell because right-leaning politicians became the mouthpieces for the big companies and corporations who wish to ravage this land with impunity. I've watched the successive Australian government bow down to, firstly, Great Britain, then the USA, and now the mining magnates and the big business. I think Trump and his cohorts did this country a favor. We got scared and voted against the right. Corruption, secrecy, greed, intimidation, cruelty, all these exist in this one country. If our societies are to evolve, we need to become humanitarians first. Somebody's also saying, I'm a middle-aged black American woman living in the southern state though not originally from southern state. And I'm afraid now that the DGT is in office. I was afraid for the first time, and I'm afraid again because I know what he seems to unleash in segments of the American population. That said, it's interesting to hear a white, heterosexual, able-bodied American man talk about being afraid. If you are afraid, with all the privilege bestowed upon you by this country, that is not a good sign. We may be heading into dark territory here. Somebody's saying, you're a lawyer, man. I feel for you, but I'm black and unemployed. You've got more sway than any of these than I do. But until people in this country wake up, the fact that he legit stole the election, or at least had it stolen on his behalf, to the tune of $250 $1 billion, and also other polling locations in Pennsylvania shut down that shifted the state to his favor, and all the shenanigans that, what was the term Willie Lillian used, outcome, determination fraud, until somebody recognizes that and challenges the legitimacy of this election, especially while he's committing treason and turning us against our own allies. We're gonna make 4 years. He's under Putin's order to destroy the country, and he's going to do it. Are we letting him? And we are letting him because no one is willing to kick him in the balls or hold him accountable. Somebody's saying also, in March, Bernie says, I think that's Bernie Sanders, these are the scariest time in my life. Bernie Sanders, born in 1941 at the height of World War II and lived through the Cold War, Vietnam, 9/11, and the War on Terror. And he said that in March 2025, let that sink. Somebody's also sharing here, my wife and I have been living in the US for the last 10 years. She is a US-born citizen and I am permanent resident born in Germany. I obtained status legally by doing all the right things. In the 10 years, we both have been contributing to the society as best as we can, paid our taxes, and haven't gotten a parking ticket. We are moving back to Europe because both of us don't feel welcome anymore. It's heartbreaking to see how bad it has become. It feels like the stories my grandfather used to tell me. He was lucky enough to survive World War II. Somebody's also saying that I'm old, and it's my fervent hope that I live long enough to see the complete downfall of Trump and his regime. Somebody's also saying, I'm 80 and was born and raised here as a white woman. I am stressed and tired of feeling anger at the daily transgression of this stupid administration. Keep doing what you're doing, Hug. Your claim conversation style, your feeling and opinion, sharing others' videos and laughing at the craziness of it all sure helps me cope up better each day. Somebody also say that I'm 72, year old, of mother 32, old, autistic son. I'm frightened that I will die and leave him alone in this country. He is mad but has anxiety terribly. He doesn't understand social norms. We have saved as much money as we can to help him when we are gone. But unless there are government programs to help people like my son, I'm frightened. I can't stand leaving him alone in the future uncertain. Somebody's also saying, I am from Latvia. My nation has not known stability through the history. We've had enough of their anchor trying to take our land and people over for the past centuries. Most times we didn't have a chance to do anything about it. Last it was Soviet Union, now we are in the EU but still in a fight. There are threats across our eastern border that the threats are real. Watching what's going on in the US, I have been both astonished and not surprised at the same time. Democracy and freedom are fragile and need to be nurtured and nourished, and they need to be chosen. Some people chose to give them up. Stay strong, you will have a choice. We're rooting for all of you. 800. Somebody's also sharing from Scotland, not going to BSU. It's going to be hellish. And you are right to be afraid of your country and yourself. However, the rest of the world is aware of what's going on, and we will still stand still. We will do our best to end the present administration. When it's gone, it will end and go. And we'll be here to help you rebuild the America you should have. Somebody's also saying that 58 years old, queer here, and if you had ever told my wife and I 30 years ago when we were married that this madness we have experienced over the last decade was going to happen, we never would have believed you. I'm terrified for our children and grandchildren, practically everyone we know, and ourselves. I'm exhausted. I know we are all, it's crucial that we do anything we can to take care of ourselves, our loved ones, and our community. Somebody's also saying, I'm not frightened. I'm angry. My roommate is a trumper and thinks he is an alpha male. I am oppressed due to my opinion, being a female, unable to move financially. I'm so sick of the toxic masculinity. We are in a fascist state right now. Every American needs to wake the hell up. Somebody's also saying, this is not my America, not the one I grew up in anyway. I love my neighbors of all ethnic backgrounds. I am an old hippie and I believe in peace and love. I am having a hard time with all this. I grew up fighting for my rights and the civil rights, for equal rights. 250 years it took us to get here, and it took one man to destroy it in less than 100 days. I can't tell the future, but I can tell the people in the country that the true patriotists that believe in this country and thought it was worth the fight made this country great. We will survive this and we will regrow our country and make it stronger. We will also learn from our constitutional mistakes, and we as a country will revise our constitution to avoid these failures in the future. As I'm writing this, to let's say that convicted felon Trump will not make a third term, I truly believe he won't make the end of this run. We will impeach J.D. Vance and Mike Johnson will fall when convicted felon Trump falls or has a stroke or heart attack. We will start afresh. I love this country, and we may never be the same as we were, but we will be great. Don't lose faith and try to stay positive. I am learning that the people are what makes us strong, not the government, not the Republican or Democrats. Hang in there and don't give up. It is up. It is going to take all of us to fight this fight. Have a great day, and I'm stealing this with a smile and a hug for anyone that needs you, that needs one. You are not alone. Right. Somebody's also saying that in 1959, our family, mom, dad, 3 kids, 12, 7, 6 years old respectively, moved to South FLA. During the Cuban Missile crisis, we watched a steady stream of army jeeps, water tanks, big semi-trucks with who knows what inside them roll down Hashway. There are constant streams of railroad cars, railroad tracks 2 blocks from our house. There were intermittent groups of fighter jets in the sky for days, all adding to the keys. Talk about afraid. Never thought I will feel that way again. This insanity has lasted much longer than the situation did. Now, 78 years old, I am actively keeping myself calm, stocking up on my items, helping the rest of my family think through what ifs will never forgive the MAGAs and Republicans for all of this. It is truly treasonous. I would have read so much comments about people complaining and people sharing their deep thoughts about this. But all I'll say is that I would really like to see America great again. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And hoping that you are safe from wherever you're watching me from. Until then, I'm your host and presenter Generic Stories. But until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.